Hey everyone, this is Prince Watercrest, and welcome back to Let's Play McDonald's Treasureland Adventure. We are on stage 2, and we gotta beat up a bunch of birds, one of which ran into me, and a bunch of clowns who tried to skewer me with a spear, if I'm up on the roof, to start off this little train ride. Also, when you knock that clown off of his ball, you better be ready to avoid not only the ball, but also the little balls that he was juggling, because they will hurt you. Now, thankfully, on this second car that I can travel on the roof of, I have a much better time. There aren't as many things for me to grab. As always, if you want to switch between the upper and lower levels of these cars, just use the hooks. And if you see a pink pipe with an up arrow on it, that's a dead end. You can't go through that pipe. You have to switch levels. Anyway, we're now at the end of the first section already. This is auto-scrolling, in case you couldn't tell. So try to not die, try to not get crushed, try to grab as many icons as you can without losing a whole bunch of health. Because when you start the second section, you're going to be at a shop, which is a good thing. I'm going to take the opportunity to fill up on flowers. Because once you get past this shop, you're going to have to ride on a couple of coal cars. We have a new enemy here, these little moles with mining equipment. I believe they attack you with their picks, their little pickaxes. And you want to take them down as quickly as possible. We're now in another car here. Okay, yeah, they just strike with the pickaxe. That's all they do. They don't actually throw it or anything. I never really paid attention to what they were doing because more than likely, I was going to finish them off before they could really do anything. Time to ride some mine carts again with the coal. And as you stand on one for a while, they eventually start traveling to the left. And one of these is going to have another enemy on it somewhere, and I believe that's the one. Thankfully, I was able to attack the enemy before the enemy was able to attack me. Also, all that money that I saved definitely did me some good, and if I was fast enough, I would have been able to get that continued. Sadly, I could not. You have only one shot to get it. So, it's on to section 3. Now here you got some hidden passages that you got to deal with. Those little white circles there indicate hooks that you can grab onto. Now if you can somehow leap off the upper level just right, you can grab the continue, but sadly I screwed that up too. And once you're down here, you can't go back. So again, you only have one shot at getting it. Now be careful when you're on these cages, because the eyes follow you, and if they see you, they'll scratch in the directions they're looking. Want to be very careful. Took a lot of dumb damage trying to get those jewels. Thankfully, there's a shop nearby. I think that's a shop. No, it's not. It's the columns game. We're not playing that. Especially since I got over 10,000 gold, and I could use that for continue if I so wanted. Next up is the mirrors. Want to be very careful, because these guys will hit you while they're somersaulting around, and they can charge towards you too. Thankfully, you can hit them a very far distance with your magic, especially if it's at maximum power, which is definitely something you want to do. And I'm pretty low on life. You want to avoid these trapeze artists. If they grab you, you're going to be stunned for a while. And when you're out of that stun lock, you will be short 4 health. That is very hard to dodge. I made that look easy. Now it's on to this section where you leap from one cage to another. The wooden parts are the areas where you can go up or down levels, in case you're wondering. And the little red and blue walls, you can't go past them. So it's kind of a maze of sorts, but it's really easy to get through. And of course you have enemies that respawn when you go far away enough, so that way, in case you need to fill up on flowers, you can! Which is definitely something that you do want to do here. Because coming up, we're going to have to spend 2 jewels to help someone out. And if you're paying attention, I bet you basically knew who that was. For those of you who are showing their age as well as I do, it's Birdie! Birdie's been kidnapped by a wicked circus owner, and if you give her some magic jewels, she'll be able to break the lock on this pen. Do it, because it will come in handy later. By freeing her, she'll be able to go back home. Plus, it's a good thing we're able to do that, and it's a good thing we can, because, well, we might as well go ahead and fill up on the flowers that we need anyway. Because coming up is the mid-boss. I want to be sure that I can fight the mid-boss. So let's go ahead and get one more white flower, and then we can continue on with the rest of this level. Strangely enough, this stage was actually shorter than the first one, at least for me. So yeah, let's just go up here with the scarf, and we'll head on to the next section, which takes place in this dark tunnel. When you hear that siren, be ready to duck. Because if you get crushed on the left side of the screen, that's an instant loss of a life. Three sirens, one after another. You're going to have the duck under 3 low overheads there. Be sure to use the lights as well as you can to not only get a couple of balloon icons, but also some gold. The balloon icons that we find here will be definitely useful for what we're going to do right now. Because as soon as the lights come back on, when we drop down, we get this. We have ballerinas on train tracks. I wish I knew why this was a thing. And we get another balloon icon just for the heck of it, and I was too hesitant there. I thought that one would travel to the left, but sadly it did not. So I had to use a balloon there. Thankfully, that's the only balloon I needed to use. And be ready to jump. No, not here. We got a couple more that we need to worry about. It's this one you want to be ready to jump, because that ballerina will travel left when you least expect that ballerina to travel left. And right there at the end of that section too. Anyway, we're now traveling in the snow, going through this door to tell you, hey, there's a shop, so in case you die here, you can bring your magic back up. Because here's where you're going to fight the mini-boss. I definitely prefer having level 3 magic when you go up against this guy, because it will do a lot more damage and save you a lot of time against this guy. All he does is just jump around, and you don't want him to land on you. He's pretty easy to deal with anyway. He can throw your hat at you, his hat at you, in case he's able to get to it, and he can use it kind of like a boomerang. It does have a limited range, but it's still an attack you don't want to deal with anyway. Eventually, when you do enough damage to him, he will head to the head of the train, and the train will stop, and you'll both be sent off the train, just knocked forward like that. And because we saved Birdie, Birdie shows up and saves us from taking damage. Birdie tells you to be more careful, then wishes you luck. As for that guy we fought, that's the last we're gonna see of him. So let's grab the money and go on into the magical city. The cars here can only be attacked when they're moving, so keep that in mind when you're trying to fight them off. They're kind of like the bugs, is that they move a lot faster. Also, the reason we're having earthquakes that are moving the road up and down here like this is because of those sumos. Those sumos, when they stomp the ground, will create an earthquake that causes the road here to act really weird. Parts of it move up, parts of it move down. Be sure to go into the highest of highs and lowest of lows to get some icons. You never know what you may find, and you never know when you may need it. And besides, that's even more gold. You can attack the sumos, but it doesn't do anything. the sumos just make that weird ooh sound. And thankfully I caught that gem up there. I want to get that jewel. Up here's the shop for just in case. I'm going to stock up on flowers. I'm not going to buy continue yet. You're going to find out why. Anyway, as you make your way up, grab as much everything that you can, and be sure to take care of these guys that throw the stuff down from the windows. Also want to go ahead and get these magic icons too. Now, when you reach this sumo, the sumo will stomp so hard that these steel beams will be bent to the left. Watch out for these little green guys that slide down these little steel girders, because they can hurt you. Especially when you get knocked to the side by the sumo stomps. Now, when I go to the shop and buy some flowers, or when I just go to the shop period, the bending of the beams actually gets reset. The enemies don't respawn, but I have to deal with being knocked to the side all over again. And it's while I'm playing this stage, for the recording of this Let's Play, that I actually found out that this is a thing whenever you go into the shop. This whole thing has to be dealt with over and over again. And apparently the enemies do respawn, I guess. Maybe they do. I'm not so sure now. I'm just going to assume that they do. Also, there's a reason I didn't get a continue in the shop. You probably didn't see it there, but you'll probably see it again because I do go back for it. It's a continue icon. I definitely wanted to get that, so that way I get another continue that I can use in case I lose all my lives. Losing all your lives and continuing is pretty bad because you go back to square one. I believe you lose all of your pickups and your health goes back to what you started with when you started the game, which of course depends on difficulty. If you're on expert, it's 3. I believe if you're on normal, it goes back down to 5. And if you're on beginner, I believe it goes back down to, I believe, 6 or 7. I've only played on beginner once. And this is another game that I'm playing spur of the moment, kind of like Bonk's Adventure, which I played before this. Okay, I'm guessing the enemies don't or maybe they do. Or maybe I just never got that enemy to show up. I'm guessing by and large that the enemies that slide down there on the steel girder part, they mostly don't respawn. So that's a good thing. So all we need to do is just make our way to the right from this area. Try not to get hit. And then just make it that steel girder to the right over there so we can continue on to the next section, which is the boss. This boss happens to be some weird flying thing with 2 hooks that you can grab onto with the scarf in case you want to go up to the same level as the bubbles. There are some icons that you can pick up. Sadly, unlike the first boss, there isn't a life that you can pick up again and again in case you die. There's a laser that he shoots just like the first boss does. You want to run into it so you lose a jewel so that the boss eats it. And while the boss is moving his mouth up and down like that, you can hit him. And you don't necessarily have to be at the higher level in order to hit him. As long as you have level 3 magic and he's moving his mouth up and down, you can hit him at least once while you're on the lower level. I usually keep to the lower level because 1, I have max power magic, and 2, it makes it easier for me to recoup on flowers for when I get one of the jewels sucked out of me by that laser. Friendly reminder, all the enemies have that laser and you have to run into it in order for the enemy to be vulnerable while he's eating away at the jewels that you gave it. Because you have to run into the laser to give the enemy your jewels, and while the enemy is eating the jewel, or jewels, they're vulnerable. We learned that in the first boss, but turns out that's a common thing with all the bosses in this game. All 4 of them. There are 4 stages. This is not a long game. You could probably beat this in about an hour. I decided to go ahead and use the scarf to hook my way up here, do some damage, accidentally take some of my own, and then realize, you know what, I think I'm just going to stay down here, do some damage this way. I should be able to beat this boss in no time, even though the stage felt longer than it actually was. I thought this would be another 20-minute stage, but sadly I managed to beat it somewhere under that. Anyway, the boss is no longer moving his mouth up and down. And I don't go for the laser just yet, because I still want the refill on health before I go into the laser once again. So here we are, not only getting some flowers, but also getting 10 gold each from every flower that we pick up. All that gold that we pick up really adds up, and somehow I managed to get a 2 jewel pickup. I still fight off any enemies that I run into and grab their power up regardless, because I'm pretty much loaded on gems at this rate. After the boss is done moving around and situates himself in the center, I'm able to hit him, and I had just enough hits to bring this guy back to his normal form and end the boss battle. So that's 2 stages down now. Please stop crying. That doesn't sound very nice. Come on, I've got something that will cheer you up. And Ronald gives him some jewels. I was expecting Ronald to give him a Happy Meal. In exchange for the jewels, this little guy drops another piece of the treasure map. So now we have 3 pieces of the treasure map. And we have 1 more place to go to in order to fill this whole map up. We now have to head to an island, and we do that with one of the balloons that the boss left for us. Stage 3 is the Magical Sea, and we're going to be playing that in the next video. So join me next time where I play Stage 3. Until then, this is Prince Watercress. Take care, stay safe, and thanks for watching!